you don't have that.
You want your hair off your forehead?
That's usually kind of about where it goes.
Poof. It's just a natural
Yeah,
poof.
that's kind of where it goes.
Slide this mic in a
take
little
a
more so
look
you don't
at
have
it.
this
Yeah.
black.
Consider This, a news and information program recorded on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. From the Fireside Lounge in the Milo Bale Student Center, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to the University of Nebraska at Omaha. My guest this week has been credited with many things. He's sometimes called the father of New Age music, and his Christmas music actually jolted the holiday segment of the music industry into a new renaissance. He's got a book out now, and it sort of puts Christmas through a, I guess you could call it a tradition prism. Who is he? Well, let's go to Omaha's Orpheum Theater to find out. Keep your eyes on the drummer. He is the drummer, Chip Davis. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you, Carol.
So many things. You are, I guess, let's see, how do I say this? Musician, composer, entrepreneur extraordinaire, founder and leader of the musical ensemble that you just heard and saw, a Mannheim Steamroller, and the man who put the E on the end of fresh air. And he lives in Omaha. I think most people know by now you live in Nebraska, but not everybody.
Yeah, actually, I live on a 100-acre farm up in Washington County, where I have my 3 kids and my wife and some horses and
Critters
dogs.
and I think a backhoe I read somewhere.
Yeah,
At least
oh, yeah.
one point.
My
You know,
yep.
you've got all kinds of things going on up there. First, I want to take care of a little business, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
And I want to thank Chip and his company, American Gramophone, for letting us do something totally different that we have never done here at Consider This. We are giving away some compact discs. And yes, they would be Mannheim Steamroller compact discs. Doesn't that make sense? Now, we are going to have a drawing of the names of the people who drop us a line via email during the week this edition of Consider This airs. We'll call it the Chip Davis edition of Consider This. At the end of the week, I will personally put all the names in a hat, or really probably just a box, and the first 15 names that are pulled out will receive a Mannheim Steamroller CD. So thank you for letting us do this.
Hey, we're delighted to do that.
Oh, it's just kind of fun.
It is.
You do it at all the radio stations and all the things where you go, and I just thank you for letting us. I don't know if public TV can do that.
I guess we're going to find out.
I guess we are going to find out. The video the folks saw at the top of the program,
Yes.
of course, was from the DVD Mannheim Steamroller Live Christmas, or Christmas
Right.
Live, I guess it is. And by the time you see this show, folks, this man will be going live with his talented troupe, or preparing to go live
Yeah.
in some city in the United States. This is a Christmas tradition for families all over the country.
Yes, well, we've been doing it, Carol, as you remember, since 1984. And we've traveled all over the country. We've played almost virtually every major city. And now we're working on other markets. I mean, we're playing, you know, so many smaller cities have these great arenas and beautiful venues. So we're taking the opportunity to get deeper into our fan base and go and see people all over the country. So we'll be out playing about 16 cities this year.
That's a bunch. What was your first tour? How many cities was it?
I think the very first tour was like 3. It was Omaha, Kansas City, and Salt Lake City.
But like I said, this is a tradition. Not only, you said you're going to some new cities, but
Right.
I know people that in other cities, not just Omaha, where you perform every year after Christmas, so you can be home and with the family at Christmas, and then do that one more set of concerts, and then you're home free.
Exactly, it works out great for us to do that, because then we're all home in our own beds, and as exciting as it is, it's still, you know, it's always a certain amount of it is a grind. I mean, the physical demands of the tour are pretty intense.
but it is a tradition. I mean, a tradition for your family. You've sort of built a holiday life around that is not quite like Bob Hope going overseas and serving the troops, but it is a grind, but it's also kind of a denouement to come to Omaha and to celebrate that Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wonderful to come back and play for the hometown crowd, that's been there and supported us all these years, which had we not had Omaha and the way that they've supported us, I mean, we built this act on our own ticket sales and on our own record sales, so it's largely due to the people here, and we love to play for them.
Well, I talk about tradition because that's kind of the theme of your new book. Yes, he has a book. Now, you say everybody's got a book, but most of those are bios. Everybody's got a book about what a hard life they led, what it was like to live with Bill Clinton. You didn't live with Bill Clinton, by the way. But you've got a new book, and we've got a little thing to show people. It's kind of a book about tradition.
Yeah, it's a book about tradition. Actually, the origin of this book comes from years and years of research that I did for a movie script that I had started off to try to produce that reveals some of the origins of various traditions. Because one of the things that occurred to me was that, when people celebrate Christmas, a lot of times they don't really know why they do the things they do. For example, why do we put up a Christmas tree? I mean, things as simple and as blatant as that sometimes escape us. So I wanted to create some kind of a platform that I could go out and explain some of these. And so this is an adventure story about a little boy named Evan, who is about 12 years old, and he gets lost in a snowstorm on his way home from school, falls into a ravine, and we don't know if he bonks his head or if he sort of fell into a parallel world, but there's a little bit of science fiction, magic, a little bit of
mysticism,
wizardry. Absolutely.
in there.
And gradually we encounter various traditions and see what's behind them.
And then the whole thing is that tradition is something so important to children. And families start traditions all the time, but it's nice to know the history of all these other marvelous traditions that probably started in some family or some little town or...
Oh, sure. I mean, there's so many things around that. One of the things that's just an interesting little tidbit is that most of the traditions that we know in this country come from Western Europe. And those traditions usually are sung about in the Christmas Carol. And so if you listen to various Christmas carols, you'll hear what those traditions are, like wassail.
That was the first one that came to mind. All over the town.
All over the town, and it's really
and
not
why is your toast
skateboarding or
is
anything.
white and my ale is brown?
Yeah.
I mean, it's those kinds of things.
Absolutely, and a toast, it's from when carolers would go around and sing, they could dunk a piece of dried bread to taste the wassail of various households, because everyone had their own recipe for it, which is
so we
hot
couldn't get
spiced wine.
zonked at each household.
Exactly.
You just got
just a little.
just a little bit, a toastful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and the thing that is neat is that you've got a CD. You've got a combination, the book and a CD. Is
Yes.
that correct?
There's a CD with it that's bound into the back of the book that has 4 cuts. It's one piece from each of the 4 Christmas studio albums. But there's something special about it that's a little different than on the albums that have been out. One of the pieces that I wrote years ago called Traditions of Christmas, I actually wrote with lyrics, but they have never been heard because I didn't put the vocal version on any of those albums. So the vocal version that I had written is actually on this. So there's something there that is entirely unique to this particular book.
Oh, that's great. And so that is available. Just came out in November.
Yep.
Right? So it's pretty new. It's a little
Wherever
gift,
they sell books.
little gift idea, folks. And the thing that I thought when I heard that you had this book out, I go, well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, this guy's been kind of, playing, piddling, and even going much beyond fooling around. I'm sure in the beginning it was tinkering, fiddling. Should I go, what medium? You're a multimedia guy. And another Christmas tradition that has sort of invaded people's household is the Christmas angel.
Well, sure.
And that
Absolutely.
was kind of a fancy of yours to put
Yep.
I think a film script together.
Yeah,
originally.
it was a story,
But
story
it
that I
turned
wrote.
out to be this kind of Christmas angel story on ice with these heavy hitters.
Yep.
And your co-narrator, you were actually in the show with your daughter at the time, I believe.
Yep.
Your numero uno
Yep,
child.
yep.
Was
Kelly
a hard
and Evan.
Oh, that's right. Was a hard hitter, and now I think it's almost on every year. I mean, it's relatively new.
Yes.
4 or 5 years old.
It was on NBC for 3 years running, and now we've taken it out into kind of our own syndication. I think it's running in 200 markets this year, and we're running it in conjunction with retailers that sell our products.
But Dorothy Hamill.
Yes, Dorothy.
Elvis Stroiko, I believe.
Yep, Elvis Stoiko, Rudy Galindo.
Yeah. It's
and
a
Olivia
story on
Newton-John.
ice. It's like a choreographed thing, and then Olivia and you narrate in
Exactly.
between the things. And my son, who is a teenager, an older teenager, and every time it comes on, he sits there and just watches it.
Oh, that's great.
And he's not a big ice skating fan. The nice thing is it brought him sort of into that
Yeah,
world.
well, you know, it was really conceived as an ice skating show with a
Oh, it
story.
was? Okay.
And it was a tour with those same characters. With Dorothy Hamill was leading the pack, and we had a whole tour out on that. At one
Well,
time.
Christmas seems to be the thing. It's certainly not the only thing you do, but we're going to stay on Christmas just for a bit more, and we're going to get another taste right now of Mannheim Steamroller Christmas Live.
Yes, my lord. Oh, sure.
You sing, I guess, sort of in a way, I wouldn't call it the rock concert approach that you take, but you have created videos for many of your songs, Chip. Pat a Pan, just tons of them, and also your
Sure.
Fresh Air, your last, certainly Fresh Air 8 that I saw was wonderful. Do you like this video thing?
Sure. I mean, it's, you know, the music that I've created for Mannheim Steamroller is typically instrumental music, and as a result, without vocals to lead the way, I have used picture all these years to help tell the story of what the music is about.
Now, in the concerts, people love them. I mean, for people that have not seen a Fresh Air Christmas concert, first, they're like what's under the Christmas tree. Even though people know what's on their gift list and what Santa's going to bring, the anticipation, and then when you start out that concert, it's like being at a rock concert. Everybody kind of knows what the songs are,
Yeah.
but it's like a whole different thing. And then you add the video, and then you've done these
Sure.
other visual projects. Does it get stale? I mean, you're like you know how rock guys go out and do a concert and they do them over and over again and play the old favorites.
You know, to see the fans react the way they do keeps, I mean, every audience is different. It keeps it really fresh and alive. And the group, you know, I mean, Mannheim Steamroller, many of us have been together for several years. I mean, it's not unusual to run into a Mannheim Steamroller crew member or person in the act that's been together for 20 years.
Well, I look at the people that we saw in that video, and I see Arnie Roth, you know, and of course the Berkeys,
Yep,
Almeida
Jackson,
and
Almeida,
Jackson,
yep.
and Ron Cooley. I mean, and I feel like I know these people too because they work in Omaha, but also you just that's a great video. If you're looking for that live DVD, you can watch it every part of the year.
Yeah, and everybody gets along so great. You know, I mean, we've the crew and the staff and everyone, we've really made almost a lifelong career out of this all together, and we've kind of pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps, and everybody gets along great, and that's what keeps it fun. I mean, it really never gets feeling real stale. Sometimes the hours are a little long and the travel gets a little wearing, but when it comes showtime, I mean, everybody turns it on.
We just should call to people's attention. There are 4 Christmas albums that you've done over the years. They can be purchased in a 4-pack in
That's
a
right.
lovely red metallic. But here they are, just in case you go, you know, I have, yeah, I bet you do. In fact, many people have had all 4 and love them and give them as gifts. But I want to ask you, there are other things in life besides Christmas. And you've had 8 Fresh Air
Sure.
albums. And you certainly will talk about a couple other little musical projects you've had recently. But what does Chip Davis want to do? Not the other creative stuff you do, but musically, where's Chip going to go now? He's done New Age, he's done Christmas New Age, he's taken it to fine art, and people have really, a lot of people have become musicians and excited about music because of what you do.
Well, I still view what I do as having a very direct classical spin to it, although I use modern day instruments to portray parts of that, but I use, you know, the old instruments, the classical instruments like the harpsichord, the recorders. Still use symphony orchestra. I mean, a lot of times people, you know, will say, "Oh yeah, your guys are that like all electronic band." It's like, yeah, I just listed all the names of the London Symphony because
Symphony.
we're all.
And then, of course, they're all playing synthesized
Yeah.
music. And then the choirs, the various
Sure.
choirs that I don't recall.
Yeah, the
in
Cambridge
England.
Singers in England, and of course we use Jackson and Almeida's choir, the
So
Cantorum here.
the Cantorium, yeah.
And yeah, I used the, in fact, on American Spirit, I used the Chicago Symphony Chorus in Chicago, 80 voices, recorded at St. Michael's Cathedral. So, I mean, you know, doing these musical projects really for me is a way to get out and about amongst a lot of really wonderful musicians. I mean, using the Chicago Symphony horn section is the greatest horn section in the world. I mean, those are really great opportunities, and each one is an adventure, and it's impossible to get stale when you're around those kind of people.
And some of the halls your music has been staged, and I mean the singers in halls that have such incredible resonance. I mean, it's kind of it's a musician's potpourri in addition to the synthesized equipment, and isn't it fun as a musician to be having sold 30 million CDs and everything? Yeah, you're kind of a well-off guy, but what it does is it allows you to musically kind of do this tapestry and potpourri.
Absolutely, explore the world. I mean, one of the greatest adventures I think we all would have to admit in our organization was to do the Goodwill Games music for Ted Turner's companies, and to go over and record that in the hall in St. Petersburg, Russia, where Stravinsky premiered The Rite of Spring. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, you know. Brahms premiered one of his piano concertos there. I mean, famous composers were in that hall, and when you go in there and you conduct the St. Petersburg Philharmonic Orchestra in Russia, it's a real overwhelming experience.
Well, let's throw up, as they say, not throw up, but in the business they say, let's throw up a slide of some of your more recent non-Christmas and just sort of more fun adventures. Of course, Halloween, which people see on the right here, was just released this last
Yes.
fall. I put, is it romantic? I can't remember, Melodies and
Romantic Melodies.
And that came out a couple years ago around.
Oh, it was this past year.
Oh, just this past year,
Yeah,
around
Valentine's.
Valentine's Day, but it's you do a lot of cool, funky little marketing things with that, little other things you can buy. And then, of
Absolutely.
course, the American Spirit, which came out this.
Yes,
Is it this past year?
yeah, Memorial Day. We had.
I mean, this is a big year for you.
Oh, it was huge. We had 3 brand new releases.
Although I kind of freaked out when I heard Convoy.
Yeah.
CW call next to Aaron Copland. A little bit of a kind of a musical jump there, but it is a fine album. And
You know, American
Americana.
Spirit. Yes, that's exactly what it
Kind
is.
of.
It's different slices of American life, you know. And one of the great things about a piece like Convoy is, I mean, it's so well known, and it really is part of the fabric of Americana.
An era. Mm-hmm. An era.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, and you know, we did Wolf Creek Pass as a representation of American folk humor, because that's a great cut for that. And they were all top 40 records too, not to mention.
But no, it's a nice selection.
Yeah.
And then the thing I liked about it is that, and we kind of went through this thing after 9/11 of super patriotic stuff, and they're all wonderful songs. They're the songs that make your heart race,
Sure.
that make you, just glow with pride. But I think you've sort of reminded us that Americana, there's modern Americana,
Yes.
there's a kind of Americana that was a little older, and but you've kind of mixed
Well-
them up. They're more modern, but not totally.
And that's why I also wanted to do pieces that were about the national parks, like Cloudburst from the Grand Canyon Suite.
Well,
I did a piece from Yellowstone.
That, which you did. Now, what was the one? Was it Yellowstone after the Yellowstone
Yes,
fires?
uh-huh.
That you did concerts and put
Yes, for
together
3 years.
some musical to help
Yeah, we raised a
repopulate
$500,000.
that with trees
Yep.
and help the wildlife out there. I mean, so you have just you've been everywhere and done just about it. What would you like to do musically? Who would you like to? Well, I'm not setting up something where you're going to. I'd really like to play with you, but what kind of in your fantasy? What would Chip be doing?
You know,
that was
I
musically
think
magical?
that if I can continue doing what I've done, I mean, we've been, I guess, particularly for being where we are, the part of the country we're in, have been amazingly successful for about 25 years. I think there one of our PR agents told me one time, I think there are only 10 artists, musical artists in existence that have had careers last that long. And to have the opportunity to continue to do what I do, I think is the best I could possibly hope for, because it's fun. We have a blast doing it.
And you have this company, and maybe everyone doesn't understand that American Gramophone, which is sort of the distributor,
Yeah,
I
with
guess,
the
in essence.
record
I mean,
label.
you can get a fancier name record label. Everything's done. All the major stuff, shipping out those CDs
Yeah.
from Omaha, Nebraska, and you've putting people to work and you're making it happen. And everybody in the music business knows the name of American Gramophone.
Oh, sure. I mean, we are without a doubt the largest independent record label in North America. That most everyone's gotten gobbled up by the Warner Brothers and the Sonys.
And you re-released Classical Gas.
Yes.
Mason Williams. I thought that was kind of fun. I mean, you have other artists.
Yeah.
Some are better known than others, and I think Paul Winter
Yes, Paul Winter.
is wonderful.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with Paul.
I've purchased some of those, but you are entrepreneurship.
Well,
You're
now
kinda-
see, now I have to correct that though, because I live on a farm, so I
No,
say I'm
no,
an entrepreneur.
No. Oh, entrepreneur. I thought you were going to deny being an entrepreneur, but you're making that's a very funny joke. I know you've told it before, I guess.
I
but-
have told that one before.
But it always cracks people up, doesn't it? But you're a musician, composer / musician who follows a muse.
Music.
Then you are the marketing kind of. You're always thinking marketing. I mean, you've got people that do marketing, but you're mind. So you've got the marketing muse, and you've got the bottom line muse. You support yourself, your family, and a lot of other people. Do these muses ever conflict a little bit?
Probably
Because you're
to
not
some
arguing
degree.
with the record company, are you?
Because
you are the
sometimes I
record
get myself I'm my own worst enemy, because sometimes I can't tell if the idea is more important than the business path. Because, and honestly, you can't tell sometimes. You can go down a path, something creatively that you really want to do, and it may not be the biggest money maker that the company actually may need at that moment.
Right.
But sometimes they are. And it's, until you do it and until you put it out in front of people, you don't know which one's going to work better than another.
And on the other hand, because you have been so involved in marketing and conceptual marketing anyway, and that have that entrepreneurial thing that keeps your engine running, sometimes do you think, oh, people buy this in a minute, and have to kind of step back and say, that doesn't mean it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But am I as the artist, is that something I can do honestly?
You don't ever know which one's which.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, and
'Cause
some
it happens
it's pretty
so automatically.
Yeah, it's pretty natural to be honest with yourself about it, because I've done this for almost 30 years now, and you don't know which one is going to be that one that's going to be an out of the ballpark home run. And we've had several of them. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate in having so many home runs, really. But it's easy to be honest, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket, because that one that you're just positive is going to be knocked out of the park may not be it at all. So it kind of keeps you humble along the whole way, because you just have to you treat everyone as though it's the greatest thing in the world, but don't have too many expectations that are going to take you over the top if it doesn't work.
Let's go back a few decades, almost a few decades, not even 20, let's go 20 some years, when a guy who is kind of known in the entertainment sports world, Roone Arledge, started plugging your Fresh Air songs and then your Fresh Air Christmas songs into, of all things, football games,
Yeah.
and as the teases and the little promotional bits. I remember, I knew what you were doing because you worked here, but I hadn't heard, for instance, Deck the Halls, which was one of the first Christmas ones sort of that had this tremendous exposure. I mean, people that were football nutcases, including myself all over the country, were going, that's Deck the Halls. What? Wow, you really tripped the trigger. It wasn't just Nat King Cole, Julie Andrews, Frank Sinatra's version of this, and Mel Torme Christmas. You tripped the trigger in the music's holidays portion of the store.
Well, it changed Christmas music. There's no doubt about that. And, we've had as a result, when I did that first album in 1984, there was a handful of the stayed records that had been out there forever.
And they were good ones. They were
Yeah.
kind of the classic.
Absolutely.
But it didn't expand either my collection at home, and it certainly didn't expand the music industry, which is an industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And every once in a while needs a little pumping.
Yeah, and I mean, what happened though is that within 2 to 3 years, there were probably anywhere from 60 to 100 releases every Christmas. I mean, it got crazy the other way as a result of that. So I mean, it really did change the face of music, and music retail, I mean, has responded totally differently. It's kind of going back the other way a little bit again.
A little more sort of the standards, but in a way, that's the way it should be. It moved,
Sure.
It started that way.
Pendulum
then
swung
we
hard the
didn't
other way.
have, you could get Celtic Christmas, African Christmas, but it was for the consumer, for people who like that kind of new way, who love one song. Like, I mean, you put some songs in that for all my life, being raised in choral music, Fum Fum Fum, and just some of these old carols that aren't songs.
Sure.
You brought those out, and it was like, my love for that is now shared with how many million people?
That's one of the
It's not a
kicks.
secret song.
Yeah, that's one of the kicks of putting on, because I grew up in a musical family. I'm a third generation musician, so I was exposed to a lot of repertoire that most people aren't. And so I knew a lot of these Christmas carols.
Like
that.
Lully Lulay.
Yes.
You gave it a little bit of syncopation in there that was kind of cool. But I mean, it was like, am I the only one in this world that sang this song with this little choir and
Yeah.
loves it? And you brought it to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the big charges I get out of doing that, is plucking some of these littler known carols and putting them on a record that has a pretty good shot at going to millions of people.
We just got a couple of minutes. Your family life is happy. Your wife Trish, you've got 3 kids, and you live up, north of Omaha on a beautiful spread that you use for production. Sometimes you go out. I hear stories about you going out with microphones in the morning before the light to get certain frogs.
Absolutely.
And all this kind
I've
of
got
stuff.
a bunch of them permanently mounted out there.
So what now?
Well, keeping on is certainly one of the things. But one of the great things that we discovered this year that I'm on sort of a through line is these seasonal records that I've done, like Romantic Melodies and everything, because you need a Mannheim for all seasons.
Yeah, I haven't decided if I need a man for all seasons, but I definitely need a Mannheim. I just want to remind folks about this email address.
You bet.
Because of your generosity. We're going to have a drawing of names of the folks that drop us a line to this email address. Consider this at tvmail.unomaha.edu. No matter when you watch this in the week it airs across the state, I'll put every name into a box, and I'll personally supervise pulling it out. I'll respond to all of them. 15 Mannheim Steamroller CDs, thanks to Chip and his folks, are we're going to give away. Thanks so much for being with us.
You bet, Carol.
We've been trying to get this show together, but you're always going on tour at Christmas, so we taped it early.
That's great. It's great to see you again, as
Happy
always.
holidays.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on Consider This. It's so good to see you.
To view this edition of Consider This or past programs, visit our website at unotv.unomaha.edu. For comments or questions, call 402-554-2516 during regular business hours. Consider This is a production of UNO Television.